Something woke me up at 2:47 a.m., but nothing was there. At least nothing human asterisk. Something woke me up at 2:47 a.m. Not a dream. Not a creak from old pipes. Something nudged the back of my head like a cold hand, and then nothing moved. At least nothing human. Asterisk, if you're the kind of person who thinks time is just numbers on a clock, then this won't change your mind. But if you've ever woken with the feeling that your room is a different place at night, heavier, watchful, then you'll know exactly what that dread feels like. This started as one of those nights. Asterisk, my apartment is small. 2 rooms. A kitchen that never got used. A window that faces the alley. I work nights, so I sleep during the day. On the night this began, I had just managed to fall into a heavy sleep at 1:30 a.m. My alarm was off. My phone was face down. I remember the first half second of waking, not a sound but a pressure, like someone leaning close to whisper. The clock said 2:47. Asterisk, I sat up. Heart racing in that slow, stupid way where every beat sounds too loud. I listened. Nothing. No footsteps. No hum from the fridge. Just the steady, indifferent buzz outside my window. I told myself, animals, a delivery van, the neighbor's TV. But the feeling wouldn't leave. It was specific, not raw fear, but targeted attention. Like someone had switched from white noise to listening directly to me. Asterisk, so I reached for my phone. For some reason, I slept with a cheap digital clock on the floor. I knocked it over by accident in the dark. The clock's screen fractured. The digits jumped to 47. Exactly. I laughed to myself. The nervous kind of laugh that sounds like a cough, and told myself to go back to sleep. Asterisk, at 3:12 a.m. Something tapped the top of the wardrobe. 3 soft taps, one after another. It was gentle, measured, like someone testing if I was sleeping. I froze. I thought about calling out, but who do you call at 3 a.m. for 3 taps on a wardrobe? Asterisk, I switched on the lamp with my toes. The light threw ridiculous long shadows across the room, empty. The wardrobe was closed. I put my hand on the doorknob to check the hallway and nothing. No one in the corridor. Just the faint smell of metal and the kind of stale dust you get in buildings that have been breathing the same air for years. Asterisk, after that, the nights changed. They weren't dramatic, at least not at first. They were patient. They moved in slow increments so I could never quite call them out and say, this is real. A single sock moved an inch on the floor. A soft, wet sound at the doorway at 3:03. The feeling of being watched when I went to the bathroom. Small, quiet things that shape a person's sleep into a scaffolding of dread. Asterisk, the thing is, attention wants a name. In the daylight, attention becomes a face. At night, attention becomes a pattern. After 3 mornings of waking to small impossibilities, I started keeping a notebook. Dumb maybe, but I needed proof for myself. Date, time, event, how I felt. The handwriting became more shaky after a week. Asterisk, the first real sign that the thing didn't just want to be noticed. It wanted my reaction happened on the 8th night. I woke again at 2:47, but this time there was a sound layered over the silence. It wasn't a knock. It was syllables. A breathing that sounded like through a mouthful of wet cloth. When I say syllables, I don't mean words I could understand. It was the cadence of human speech without the letters. Staccato. Patient. Asterisk, I lay there, counting breaths like a child counting sheep, until the breathing pattern matched my pulse. I tried to stay awake, to listen. The thing, whatever it was, seemed to study the way I listened. When I turned my head, the breathing stopped instantly. When I closed my eyes, it came closer. It knew me enough to learn my habits. Asterisk, one night, tired and desperate, I whispered, if you're here, leave me alone. It felt ridiculous the moment the words left my mouth, but the room answered in a way I will never forget. A soft, wet brush across my ankle, like lips tracing bone. A smell like iron, not a human smell, not exactly. Something older, like rainwater soaked in iron filings. Asterisk, I jerked my legs up onto the bed and switched on every light I had. Nothing there. But on my ankle, 3 tiny, clean marks in a row, like someone had pinched and pulled the skin. The notebook entry the next day read, 247, touch, 3 marks. My hand trembled as I wrote it. Asterisk after that. I couldn't pretend anymore. The pattern was deliberate. It was as if someone or something was playing a slow, private game with me. The nights became a language I had to learn. A pattern emerged, 247 every night, a variation of contact, sound, touch, movement. Always enough to leave a memory, but never enough to prove it to someone else. Asterisk. One night I set my phone to record. Audio from 2:30 to 3:30, I was ready to catch the thing and expose it. To get proof that would make my friends stop looking at me like I was losing my mind. At 2:47, the recording picked up a sound that wasn't on my phone when I played it back. Asterisk, it wasn't words. Just that same cadence, and at the very end, a tiny, unmistakable sound. The clicking of fingernails on glass. Not loud, not threatening exactly. Just deliberate. It's like a knuckle tap in Morse code for a single letter. I couldn't decode. Asterisk, I started dreaming about the alley outside my window. In the dream, there was always a shadow leaning against the brick, just beyond the reach of the streetlight. It never moved. When I would press against the glass from the inside, the shadow would tilt its head and the air would smell like iron. Asterisk, one week in, I made a terrible choice. I decided to confront it in daylight. Irrational bravery is a thing. At noon, sunlight in the apartment made everything seem like a photograph. I opened the wardrobe doors, checked under the bed, walked the corridor 3 times. Nothing. I taped the windows. I set out bowls of salt. Superstitions for sale in the daylight. All of that meant nothing at night. Asterisk, that 10th night changed the rules. I woke at 2:46 to the usual prickling. I told myself to breathe. At 2:47, the ceiling above me sighed, a long, low sound, like a house exhaling. Then, at 2:48, the light I keep in my wardrobe flicked on by itself. Not a bulb flicker, full steady light, as if someone pressed a switch with careful, human fingers. Asterisk, I sat up, and the wardrobe door was open an inch. For a second I thought that was the end of it. I reached out, and something cold brushed my knuckles from the inside. Not a hand. Something long and thin, like a finger made of wet cardboard. It left a line of damp that smelled of iron. Asterisk, I pulled back so fast I hit the headboard. The wardrobe slammed shut on its own. The clock read 2:49. I scrambled for my phone and played the voice recording from that night. At 2:47, just before the lamp, there was a noise I had never heard in recordings before. A breath, and then a tiny, sharp laugh. Not a human laugh. A single, quick, almost mechanical click that sounded suspiciously like a name. Asterisk, it clicked 3 times. I replayed it, click, click, click. My own name, I could swear I heard the vowels shaped in the silence between clicks. The apartment felt smaller after that. The air thickened. I realized the thing had learned how to get my attention, and then learned how to call me. Asterisk, I moved out the next morning. I packed like a person leaving before a storm. I took with me the clock that showed 2:47 and the notebook with its shaky entries. I left the apartment exactly as it was, not out of fear of the place, but because leaving felt like admitting it existed. Asterisk, people ask if I ever found proof. The recordings, the marks, the notes, they mean something to me, but to anyone else, they are fragments. The thing that woke me at 2:47 was patient and precise. It wanted to be known but not pinned. It wanted the reaction more than the ruin. Asterisk, sometimes, late at night, I still wake before my alarm. I check the time without thinking. If a phone ever shows 2:47, even if I'm somewhere else, far away, I feel that same thin pressure at the back of my head, like a memory turning into a presence. Asterisk, if you ever wake at 2:47, and you feel like someone is listening, don't shout, don't knock, be polite. It remembers manners. Asterisk, if you liked this story and want more like it. Subscribe and hit the bell. I've got more nights like this. Share your own 2:47 stories in the comments. If you have one, tell me the exact time. I check them. Sometimes attention is contagious. Asterisk.